was actually a little presentation that she worked on with an English teacher who is a 7th grade English teacher at Hamburg Middle School. And this is just a resource that I'm definitely going to use, and I really liked in regards to how she approached her students. So in honor of Pride Month, they decided to focus a lot on diversity and a lot of the LGBTQ titles. So when they did that, the English teacher actually had her students go through and she set up each book. So she talks about what kind of book it is. So for instance, this section is going to be on biographies. And then after that, she left each of these templates empty. So what happened was each student was to go in, put their own title, put their own picture, put their own symbol, and their own hashtags, and then they were supposed to fill in all of this information. So this is one of my favorites because I really do love this book. This entry was done by a student, which was awesome. And the way that she worded it was, Soul Surfer is the amazing story of the 13-year-old surfer girl who lost her arm in a shark attack but never lost her faith and her triumph returned to competitive surfing. She gives a really good brief explanation. I'm not going to read that because it gets very into detail. But the cool thing was that she made sure that none of the students gave away any spoilers. She had such different types of books. So here's a couple of the biographies. This was one of the Who Was series. This is Who Was Babe Ruth. This was another Who Was series, which is Who Was Paul Revere. Biography on Cristiano Ronaldo. He is a soccer player. He was very well known. And then next she moves on to classic fiction. She's got Anne of Green Gables, Where the Red Ferns Grow. Another person did Where the Red Ferns Grow, so clearly she didn't have a checkoff list, which I definitely would have. But I think it's interesting to see the different takes of how these students view these books. So after Where the Red Ferns Grow, she's got fantasy. So this is stuff like Harry Potter almost. Let's see, The Land of Stories, The Burning Maze, which is a Rick Riordan book. Rick Riordan's a very well-known teen author, and he has a lot of series and a lot of well-known texts that would be a great addition to a summer reading. There's Crenshaw. This is by Catherine Applegate. She's another great author for anyone that would want to look into her a little bit more. Next is Echo, Fellowship of the Ring, which this actually was turned into a movie, so that's kind of cool because I know for a fact that I really love this series. The Phantom Tollbooth, and like I said, Harry Potter. So we move on to historical fiction. And the cool thing about these templates was that they were all set up the same, but they all reached out to how much information these students got from these books. If you are someone who really wants to read through what these books were each about, feel free to pause and read as to what the students had to say. And as you can tell, there's a couple typos. And then Crispin, the Cross of Lead. And then next we're on to mystery and suspense. So here's one, The One of Us Lying. 100 Lies of Lizzie Lovett. Seems to be a theme, doesn't there? The Mist. This is a Stephen King book. This book is one of the ones that I would definitely aim towards 8th grade because Stephen King is more of a horror writer. Next is Bone Killer. And then now we move on to nonfiction. Heaven is for Real. And like I said, feel free to pause if you want to look at any of these books. This presentation will be up for students to see and read through, and they'll have a chance to see what other students' realizations of the text were and how they can also possibly become interested in these books themselves. So next is realistic fiction. So this is Saving Wonder, The Sweetest Sound, Everything, Everything. So I actually personally love this book. I read it a couple years ago when it came out, and it also has turned into a movie, which that seems to be a little bit of a recurring theme with some of these books. For example, the Lord of the Rings was The Fellowship of the Ring. Harry Potter has been turned into a movie, everything. So if you notice, a lot of the students will tend to choose things that they can watch on TV as well as read in a book. And that's not frowned upon, but it's definitely better to aim your students towards books that will engage their imagination and not ones that they can go watch a movie of it first. Look Both Ways. I've actually done a book presentation on this book. It's a very good one by Jason Reynolds. It does talk about bullying and cancer and death. So there are clearly some hard-hitting topics that are talked about in the summer of 2020, but these kids were really ready to handle those tough topics. And I hope you guys are too, honestly, because we shouldn't shy away from reading books because they're too mature, because honestly, all the books that we talk about today are not too mature for the reading levels. There may be some 8th grade focused books, which I will discuss when it comes upon, but a lot of the books are for 6th to 8th grade, so don't feel discouraged. And if you have any questions, ask your local librarian, ask your school librarian. Feel free to shoot me an email if you want, because I am more than open to looking into books that I don't know. Here's another one. This is Screenshot. Fish in a Tree. Restart. Hatchet. Vet Volunteers Fight for Life. Speak. I know this book. Lori Halse Anderson is a great author if you want to look into more of her books. To All the Boys I Loved Before. My Secret Guide to Paris. Funny. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I know that this book series has come out with over 10 different books now because of how popular the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid became. So if you are into books that have drawings and books that have a lot of pictures in them but still have a great storyline, Diary of a Wimpy Kid is definitely the way to go. It's a very good book series. And Jeff Kennedy is a great writer. Here's another Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The Crossover. Judy Blume and Super Fudge. That's an awesome book. That's a very old book that I used to read when I think I was your age. Science fiction. So this was actually one of the books that we talked about earlier. This is the prequel of Hunger Games. This is the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Hunger Games. And as stated before, this is actually the Hunger Games, so that was the book that came before it. After the Cure. The Maze Runner series. James Dashner did an awesome job with this series. It actually has become a movie as well. So this is a great one to do for summer reading. Catalyst, which is based on the Star Wars movies. Now on to graphic novels. I like that she lists that it's not a genre because graphic novels have their own genres within it. So here's one of my favorites. I love Raina Telgemeier. She does a great job in this almost autobiography of hers where she talks about the fear of eating. And it's just something that really handles a lot of tough topics for middle school students. So this is a great, great book for summer reading. Invisible Emmy. My Life as a Background Slytherin. I love this. I'm a Harry Potter fan, so I love this. Roller Girl. Marianne Saves the Day. And then from the looks of it, that's it. So she does a great job of getting her students involved. And one way that she did it was by creating this template for her students to openly interact and, put in their own opinions. And obviously some kids didn't really try as hard as others. Like this one, she just put it good. Clearly didn't check her grammar. But then there was a couple students who really took their time and talked about, like for this one, if you like the Hunger Games, you will really like Maze Runner. So feel free to go through this presentation and pause on any screen of a book that interests you. And if you have any questions, like I said, don't be afraid to reach out to your local librarian, myself, or your local school librarian. So I hope you guys enjoyed this because I really thought this was a great approach to interact with your students and to get them to explain why they like the books that they read. So yeah, if you have any ideas, feel free to write them down.